I'm going to make an executive decision here. I'm going to allow you to clap this week.
What? I don't know if I want to clap anymore.
It's up to you. As long as you commit to not swiveling the entire episode in your
Yeah,
chair.
then I can't.
I do solemnly swear.
Setting me up for failure.
Okay, fine.
You clap. I'm going to swivel. I have one foot tucked to maybe discourage my swiveling. Oh gosh, you have a journal with notes. What is about to happen?
You'll find out soon enough. All right. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to Slightly Off Script, the marriage show where we remind you that marriage can be stupid good and wicked fun. I'm one of your hosts, Bethany Needham, here with my Saturday cozy buddy, Andy.
Or Monday when this releases in the future.
Oops.
But here in the multiverse of the podcast world, this is a cozy Saturday. What do we have happening this evening? That we could talk about.
I was gonna say, am I allowed to talk about that? We have a snowstorm rolling in.
A whoppa.
It's a nor'easter. I'm ready for it. I am here for it. I love a good snowstorm. This is gonna be our second one this week.
And then more coming.
And more on the way. I actually feel sad for people that have never gotten to experience getting snowed in. Like truly, not the southern people who get like a quarter inch and they're like, I'm snowed in. That's not snowed in. Snowed in, like, I don't remember where I parked my car because
better make sure we check the generator.
Yeah, it's so buried. Yeah, that kind of snowed in is a special kind of magic. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I was saying to you earlier today that I like this part of winter. It's really the transition from winter. I've often said if we could get rid of the month of March in New England, like just erase that, that would be ideal.
Yeah, it's that winter sort of fake ending a bunch of times. It's like the worst breakup ever. They're like, break up. No, I miss you. Broken up. No, come back.
Winter's kind of codependent.
Yeah, and then it takes forever to break that tie. Mm-hmm. But you go through all that mud. It's just a whole... Yeah, actually, the month of March would be a great analogy for a terrible breakup.
And I think this episode's actually releasing in the month of March. So at least you have a good podcast to listen to. So that'll help get you through. Gosh.
Welcome to March. Sorry. Worst month ever.
Yeah. What's an ideal snow day for you?
An ideal snow day? I feel like I'm already starting to embrace it. I got my sweatpants, sweatshirt. It's a ball cap day. I used to be a bigger coffee drinker, but I've really gotten into hot tea. So like a nice hot bevy and the appropriate kind. And I don't know, snuggled up, watching a movie or TV, very little of anything, and just watching the snow come down.
I feel like there are certain foods that are more ideal for a snow day, though. Like obviously crock pot, soups, grilled cheese.
Yes, I am a high carb person.
High carb.
On just being honest. And normally I'm a high protein eater just because I love to lift. Yeah. But on snow days, I love those carbohydrates. So, and I just tell myself that I'm like fueling myself for a big lift the day after snow day. Because usually if
it's a rest day, gym. It's God gave you a rest day.
Yeah, I love it. So. No, I am fully here for it. And I'm sorry for those who may be listening. I was like, I've never experienced a snow day. Come to New England. We do it right.
So today we're going to talk about ways to invest in your marriage.
Yeah.
Which is an exciting thing to talk
about. Snow days.
Yeah.
You can't plan those, though. You just have to experience them.
Yeah. Well, that's like a gift that God gives you. But there's things that you need to do that are more intentional to invest in your marriage.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you as in like, Bethany, this is an intervention.
I was like, wow, that was really direct.
So I decided to invite in the internet.
Perfect.
To hold you accountable.
To hold me accountable. Fantastic.
But before we get into that, we decided to bring back something that we tried on one of our preview episodes, which is that we both prepared 3 questions and we didn't let each other know what the questions are going to be.
Oh, I forgot that you were also asking 3 questions. I thought I was just tricking you. No.
Tricking?
Not tricking.
I didn't say tricking. Surprising or sort of like, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Is there math equations? What are you trying to, okay.
Not at all.
The riddle? Do you have some riddles? All the light switches were turned off in the house. How did
Yes.
I don't know. Okay. So do you want me to go first or do you want to go first? You can make the decision.
Oh, now I kind of want you to go first.
Okay. Let me pull out my handy notebook.
Handy dandy notebook.
All right. What is a time in our marriage that you were very surprised?
Oh, you know what's so funny? I almost asked you this same question. That's hilarious.
This is 22 plus years of marriage, everybody.
A time in my marriage. Do you really want me to tell this story? Because I got one. I think you know which one came to mind. You're regretting asking this question, aren't you? Come on. Let me tell the story. A long, long, long time ago, to where Andy cannot be held responsible for this.
The statute of limitations passed.
Yes, the statute of limitations. It really was a lot of years ago. Can I tell the story?
I feel like I'm regretting
Yeah.
this greatly because now I have no alternative. Like if I say no, people are going to think like I have a criminal past.
You could edit this whole chunk out if you say no. We could start over.
All right, let's see how you do telling this story.
Okay. So we were on a cruise. And
An imaginary couple was on a cruise
imaginary couple
named Randy and Bethany.
Yes. And we decided that we were going to go play one of these game shows. And so we're in this room. It was actually a really fun game show. And essentially, you're sitting around at these tables. It was normally a dining room, but for the night, they were doing this game show. And everybody sitting at your table is your team. So you're all working together as a team, and you have a little number card. And the host is asking, like, I need someone to bring me, like, one of my favorites to witness, actually, where they're like, I need someone to bring me a women's purse. And then
So
someone,
your team like grabs one.
yeah, they grab a women's purse,
run it to the front,
grab your number card, and you have to get to the guy. But then the guy was hilarious. And so he's like, I need a women's purse. And so they grab a purse, and halfway up, they're like, completely empty. And you know, the woman who they took her purse is like, no. Well, while they're jumping out the purse in the middle of the floor, that kind of stuff. It was wild. I don't remember how you got called up. I just remember there was one. And they asked
when they give you we need a volunteer to come to the front from every group, but they don't give you any information.
Yeah, it was that scenario.
Should have been a warning.
So essentially you get the card, you volunteer and you run up to the front. Now, I'm already surprised because you are not as much as you've done like leading worship in front of people, you are not the go up in front of people, just make a fool of yourself.
Well, I'm high responsibility. I felt like I needed to contribute. I didn't have a purse.
Yeah. True. So you run up to the front of the room, and I'm sitting back at the table with these people we had just met. We just met for this game. And the guy says something, basically the first gentleman, and they were all gentlemen up there. So the first gentleman.
Thank you for using the words gentleman.
Yes,
that's very kind of you.
I'm throwing this out. Who can put on their pants inside out. And I remember looking around the table and being like, sorry, guys, we have completely lost this round. And they're like, are you sure about that? Because I was back to the front and I turn around. And there are you turning your pants inside out and putting them back on. I have never been more surprised, proud, shocked, and almost peed my pants laughing.
Yeah. There's a vacation Andy mode that sometimes will fall into the trap that I call the WWBD. What would Bethany do?
I do feel like I should preface with you had like boxer shorts. It was not a real inappropriate scene.
This was not Chippendales.
But it was shocking that you were like, I'm going to win this thing. I believe that's where the term Vacation Andy
that began. That was the genesis of Vacation Andy.
I was like, after all these years of marriage, this man still surprises me. But when you asked me what surprise, that moment when I'm back to, I literally didn't even look because I'm like, there's no way he's doing this. And the people at the table were like, are you sure about that? It was fantastic. Yeah. Still one of my favorite moments too. I'm not going to lie. That's why it came to mind so fast. Are you sure you want to keep asking questions?
Yeah, what is your first question?
Okay, so my first question is, in all the years we've been married, I have rocked a lot of different hairstyles and colors. Everything from brown, blonde, silver, black, blue, pink, all the colors. And pixie cuts all the way to just long, plain hair. Which color and style, if you had to pick, and you cannot pick my current one because
Oh, come
that's
on.
no, it's an easy out. So other than my current,
Well, that's the winner because it's been ridiculous. Like Bethany gets hair compliments pretty much anytime we're somewhere in public, like waiters or waitresses, particularly. I don't know. Just it feels like when we travel, like people are just like, I just have to say, you have the most. We've been taught, like we are everybody over at
okay, hold on. I'm not fishing for compliments here. I want to know from you.
Well, okay, that's not too hard. I do lean towards the blonde or the ombre, and I like your hair long because I like to play with your hair. So that's like pretty easy.
So long ombre, that's what I have right now.
But you have the reddish.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So non-reddish ombre, really what?
Well, that's like number 2.
All right, all right. That was my first question.
Wow.
I'm not getting myself in
My
trouble
goodness.
here.
So do you like Coke or Pepsi? No. All right. This one is actually a food related one.
Perfect. Coke. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
You have been asked to go to Chipotle, which I said wrong for years, but it's Chipotle.
Yes.
And you need to order my bowl.
Oh no. Set up for failure.
Let's see how you do.
Oh man.
Walk down the line.
Okay, we're getting white rice,
Ding ding.
black beans. If you do beans or no beans?
No beans.
No beans. Okay. Sorry, no beans. You're doing the peppers and onions.
Ding ding.
Salsa? No, meats. I have to pick the meat. Oh gosh. Do you do the steak?
Yep.
Okay, good. Steak.
Doing good.
I'm doing corn salsa and the spicy salsa, hot salsa.
Usually the pico, like the mild.
Oh, but corn too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and there's a key strategy to that too. You say one, like what kind of salsa do you want? You say mild. Then you let them put the mild on. And then you say corn salsa.
What is the strategy? They
Because
just give you more?
they won't ration it as much. Because it's like, oh, I'm getting 2 salsas. So
I follow.
This is strategy. But you don't need to have that strategy. I'm just like that's next level.
And cheese.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, beyond that, I'm really questioning myself on whether you do.
I mean, I will say that like if you brought home what you described,
Yeah.
you're close. You're in the ballpark. Like
Because guacamole, I would add if
yeah,
I
it
was
depends
feeling
on
rich.
how we're doing that month financially.
Yeah, for real.
How was the electric bill?
Yeah.
And then sour cream. If I do sour cream, I like light sour cream. And I usually will order something with my bowl too.
Yeah.
Chips.
Yeah. I would do the chips too.
I feel like it's one of those things that you're close enough that I would be like, well, you didn't nail it because the black beans I wouldn't be bothered by. Like that's fine, but I wouldn't normally get them. And then the hot salsa might actually like at this age, like you better have bought some more Tums because
True.
like I probably would enjoy it, but I would also regret it.
Fair. That's a sound I am accustomed to now at this age and stage of life.
A sound would
A sound is waking up in the middle of the night and hearing the sound of the Tums bottle and you in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, Andy's up, pounding the Tums again.
I didn't know what sound we were talking about, so I'll take that sound.
Yes.
There's other sounds, but
No, that sound. I already got one. You ready? Okay. I want to know if you could relive one day in our marriage, just in a whole, like one full day, which day would you choose to go back to?
Tough.
That's right. I left you. It was too easy with the hair one, obviously.
So outside of our children being born, I think our time, like it would probably be something in our time in Portugal.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of magical things that happened in that trip that were just the discovery, the exploration, riding in the little 3-wheel.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
That day. Yes. That day was incredible.
Yeah.
What do they call those? Is it a tuk-tuk?
Something like that. I think, yeah.
No, the tap-tap is in
Tap-tap's
Haiti.
Haiti. I think it tuk-tuk maybe.
Tuk-tuk, yeah.
And we had like the dreads driver who was like
Fantastic. Knew every back alleyway to
Brought
get
us to a
around
really
things.
cool restaurant overlooking the city. And yeah, that was, I mean, there's a couple days in that trip that were just absolutely insane. I felt like we just had a lot of, even like the drive out to our Airbnb on the country roads. And like we stopped at a rest area.
It was the nicest rest area I've ever been to in my life.
Like cappuccino machines.
Yeah.
Like,
Croissant while
Yeah.
you're at this.
fresh baked.
Yeah.
I don't know what
At a
kind of,
gas
I think we're
station.
doing the accents very poorly, but anyway.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Portugal.
Yeah. And that makes me want to figure out like, I don't know, probably for our 25th, we're going to do something international. So
Yeah.
either that or an RV trip would be one or the other. So we'll see.
All right. You get your third question.
My third question. What is a trendy item or thing that you were so in on that you now look back and say that is cringe?
PT Cruisers.
You have to explain what this is because I think a lot of people have no idea.
A PT Cruiser was a type of vehicle that, for whatever reason, honestly, I look back and I'm like, it's like a little hearse. I don't know what my deal was.
The mafia phase of your,
Yeah, I was kind of obsessed to the point that we got driven from our wedding in a PT Cruiser. And I look back at PT Cruisers and I'm like, ew.
I would say like a PT Cruiser was like if a Dodge Caravan tried to wear an Ed Hardy t-shirt to be cool.
Exactly. Nailed it. And I thought that was cool. So yeah, that one's pretty cringe.
All right. So we're going to dive into.
I didn't get my third question.
Oh, man. I'm trying to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bring it on.
Okay. I put down 4, so I'm going to give you an option. Do you want an actual like heavier question? It's not really heavy, or like a light and fluffy.
Which one's more embarrassing for you? Potentially.
Neither.
Oh, man.
I didn't set myself up. Are you
You're
kidding?
too smart for that. Let's go lighthearted.
Lighthearted. Okay. I did go shopping recently because I started a new job, found some great thrift finds. And then, so I got some new fits. So I want to know, what is your favorite current
There's a theme in your questions here.
B needs? I'm finding new date clothes and hair. This is feeding my future.
Yeah, you have a lot of great outfits right now. I will say the Barbie blazer that you have is like a standout. I think that has made one appearance maybe on the podcast. It was the day that you came from work and we recorded after work.
Yes.
But the black jumper, I love that outfit for a number of reasons. One is that it's very versatile and you can wear it in a lot of different settings. The thing is also that it gets like, I think there's 2 main camps of comments that I get to hear people make about it. Like one is like, that's the coolest thing. Usually it's like women that are 10 years younger than you then you just feel cool because they're like, oh, where did you get that? That's the coolest thing ever. And then the other group is did you get a job at Valvoline?
Yes. I was going to say, I get way more.
Because it has that sort of like worker.
Do you want to fix my carburetor?
Yeah.
People who, it does have that look to it.
Ruby the Riveteer kind of, yeah. So
I love that jumper. That's my favorite fit because easy. I'd buy it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, easy until you have to use the restroom. But
yeah, you don't want to be in a public restroom in those bad boys because it's just the cracks in the door. Like you feel very exposed when you have to use the restroom.
All right.
You're welcome.
This is the TMI episode, so that's great. All right. Well, speaking of investments, I don't know. That's a good transition. Just gonna.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of TMI.
Speaking of cracks in the door, no.
Yes.
But we're 16 episodes in, so I'm learning some new, like the transitions, the techniques.
Love it. You're killing it.
So what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about investments in our marriage and just some things. We're actually going to go back to our marriage values and kind of use that as framework. Is that your word that you like?
I love the word framework.
Yes, the framework. I know, right?
Keep talking.
The framework. We're going to use our values and just go through nothing heavy. I feel like today's episode, I was looking forward to something that is really just some really simple things that we have done intentionally to invest in our marriage. I'm going to put it out the front end for listeners. These are the kind of episodes, if you ever want to comment or send in, we love to hear feedback from other people too. Like, what are the things that you would fill into these spaces and intentional investments in your marriage? So, community.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Community. What are some intentional investments that we have made in this area?
I will say a book that really impacted me a lot is Rosaria Butterfield's book, The Gospel Comes with a House Key.
Mm.
And it's one of those books that you read, and it's about the Christian ethic, the lost Christian ethic of hospitality. And so I think we have always lived that to a measure, but it was a book that challenged me. Now, I will say, if you read this book, you're going to feel like I am nowhere near as good at hospitality as this woman, because she's like off the charts on the hospitality factor. But it just shows you the ways that, and I think one of the investments that we have made is creating our home as a space where there's a versatility. I mean, you talked about it when you talked about like having little kids and like bins and that type of, but also just like having a table that can expand. Sometimes it's just always having a frozen pizza in the freezer, even when we don't have grown children home. So if they pop home from a college weekend, we're ready to rock. Having guest beds that are easy to set up. The other thing with hospitality for us is that we have the privilege of having my parents in an in-law apartment, and then your brother live with us as well. So yeah, and I think that is an investment in our marriage because it helps us form and foster the community in a way that's not overwhelming.
Yeah. One of the things we did in this home, and we've had this actually in other homes too, I find fire pit areas, like outdoor spaces, is a huge one. I find one of the easiest ways to invite people is to come sit around a fire in the spring, summer, fall, and you can bring snacks out or not bring snacks
Our
out.
neighbors are more likely to pop in on that than they are to come into. Yeah, they'll be walking by and just come down. Yeah.
Yeah, it sets up for like conversation, hanging out. It's very relaxing. Like a night out by the fire is
The
one
best.
of my favorite. By the time you go in, first of all, I don't think we ever stay up as late as we do when we have fires because there's just something that keeps you outside and living out where we do, even just the sounds of nature or nothingness all around is just a beautiful thing. In this house in particular, we've invested into our fire pit area with the idea, like I actually got a shipment of wood this last season, and part of that was we realized that we wanted to be set up that at a moment's notice, somebody shows up, hey, we got the firewood, we're set to go.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of really memorable times around the fire with neighbors and friends and family, and just really, really special space out there.
I'll share something else that, maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but you've already kind of thrown me under the bus today. So who cares? But I have some friends who the way that we kind of connect is over a cigar.
Yeah.
That was never something in my ecosystem, my life, my framework. It's like at most like a once a week kind of thing, but there's just something like a sacred slowing that happens with that. And yeah, and my friends are jealous because of all of our spouses, you're the only wife that actually enjoys a cigar as well. So,
well, because for me, cigars have a nostalgic side that, because I have brothers that they would smoke cigars and other things.
yeah, we stick to cigars.
Yeah, we stick to cigars. I genuinely like the smell of them, and there's just something that kind of brings me back. And yeah, that's one of those things to me that I was like, people can have different thoughts, opinions, but you're right. There is something that's one of the things we do as a date together sometimes. And it's funny when I have friends that find that out and they're like, so you just like sit around a fire and smoke a cigar with your husband? And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a beautiful thing. We talk it's delightful. So
shout out to Sweet Jane and Crazy Alice, which are not our neighbors. They're the type of cigar that
they're
Bethany
my
enjoys.
brand of cigar that I enjoy. Yes,
That's right.
For sure.
The fire pit.
Yeah, love the fire pit area. And then I would say another one for us, and we're not in this season right now, but recently, I think we may have even mentioned it before, but we made a decision on Monday nights. There was this kind of Bible study group happening at a church, not our home church, but a friend's church. And we decided for that season of time to set aside our Monday nights. And that was kind of our date night. We went and did this Bible study. And that was a really sweet time of community for us, meeting people we didn't know from other churches, other circles, and studying God's word. And even just because we had to drive a little ways together, having that 30-minute car ride together back and forth, there was definitely intentionality because we had to set aside, I don't know, we are at that age where going out in the evenings feels like.
You got home by 8:30. We were out there like a bad habit at the end of the night. But
yeah. But even that was like, okay, being out at night. But Yeah, that was kind of one of those things that we did to invest, and it was awesome. It was a really cool
Yeah.
time.
I'll say too, like in the past, we've had really good small group community, and that has been a huge help to our marriage in different seasons and built a lot of good things for us too. So that's community. And then we moved to authenticity. The way that we kind of were thinking about this was like authenticity in marriage in terms of like an investment is that sense of like humility and being teachable.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes through like conversations that we'll have. It also can be from outside sources. And so I'll just mention like a few resources that have meant a lot that we've invested. We were visiting friends once out in California, and they're like, "Hey, there's a marriage conference going on at our church. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, tell me more about it." They're like, "Oh, Paul Tripp's coming." I was like, "Yeah, we will be there." And
I love Paul
talk about a
Tripp.
finely dressed gentleman. That is the most sharply dressed older man that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost intimidating. He's like
yeah.
so well put together.
He's also brilliant. And his
Yes.
writing, one of my favorite books on marriage that he wrote was What Did You Expect? It's about expectations in marriage. And then for me, it's interesting because I'm doing a devotional by Tim Keller right now. It's all just little segments of his writing. And it reintroduced me back into his marriage book, which I love, which is The Meaning of Marriage, which I think is a must read for anybody. And for a while, we'll talk a little bit later about some of our rhythms of getting away. I would try I need to get back into this. This is a good reminder for me. But like on an annual basis, when you and I would go away together, I would read a book on marriage as
Hmm.
one of my things that I would do as an investment every year. So yeah.
We've done that a couple of times where we read the same thing at the same time.
Yep.
Not all of them were awesome books in the end, but even just the practice of doing it together
Yeah.
was a cool thing. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then we've the seeking wise counsel and therapy, that's a big one in terms of intentionality with authenticity. We
And
have,
sometimes it's an investment both of time and resources. Yeah.
yes. And sometimes I think people think of therapy as something like that's only when you hit an issue or you hit a bump in the road, like, but sometimes therapy can be part of your regular maintenance in your
Mhm.
relationship. There's kind of that you don't know what you don't know. And there's been times sitting with a therapist that stuff has come up that I didn't necessarily realize that I was holding under the surface that needed to be processed through. So,
Like put on your black jumper and go get an oil change for your marriage.
yeah, seriously though. Yeah, like don't wait for it doesn't always have to be a crisis. Like sometimes that's just an investment for, hey, you know what? Let's take a little while, sit down with someone, talk through things. Maybe stuff will come up. Maybe it'll just be really good connection, but that's another.
You highlighted one as we were talking earlier today that I was thinking like, man, that's one that I need to be even more intentional about. But it's a cool thing. Like we typically get up at the same time in the morning, get up at 5 a.m. And we both have very different ways of doing our morning rhythms and routines. Both involve lots of coffee. I typically leave for the gym. So I get up at 5, leave for the gym somewhere around 6:40. And oftentimes I'll like pop in somewhere around 6 o'clock. So we both had an hour to kind of get ourselves centered and do our rhythms. And then we have had some really good, sometimes we're just talking about our day or whatever, but there's also been a moment where it's like, there's been some really sweet conversations.
Yeah. Those check-ins, I mean, when we were talking about this, that's one of the first things that came to mind. One, because I feel like we had one this morning, so it
Mhm.
was fresh in my mind. But there is something about the quiet morning. We've been just us and Jesus for the last hour, and there's a vulnerability that's already kind of there. And then just to sit and not rush. I could think of one recently that we had that I remember thinking in my head, okay, I'm going to feel rushed, like going to work and everything else. And after we had this conversation, I just got ready and went, and I was like, you know what? It was worth it. Like
Mhm.
it was worth maybe cutting some other things out for that morning to just sit and be together and talk
Yeah,
and
it's a good
connect.
reminder. You just even calling that out has made me think because I do like to sometimes like set up part of my day. Like I'll prep for making breakfast or all the nerdy OCD queuing things that I do, but like not overlooking that there's a space there that can be really beautiful if I'm more intentional about it. So that's really good.
Yeah.
That brought another one as we're talking about this, which I think will be a little controversial for some people, but it
I think
doesn't.
it's funny that it would be controversial, but I believe you. I just think it's crazy.
Yeah, which is that we give each other completely free access to each other's journals and phones.
Yeah. Which Honestly, I was telling you, but it's fun for me. Truthfully, I have not read your journal in a while, but one of the things we used to joke about is my favorite time to check your journal is like the day or two after we had a fight, because I want to know how you process that.
Yeah.
And as dumb as it is, it's actually been helpful for me in terms of understanding your thinking and your processing and where your heart is at. And sometimes I'm glad you read my journal because I feel like with my journal, I'm raw. It's definitely unfiltered. And in some ways, I'm like, I want you to see
Yeah.
those sides of me, whether I'm too tired or just not intentional about sharing things. Like,
Unsurprisingly, we journal different. Like I'm very disciplined about like a page a day, but you've actually done a lot more journaling in the last year, which has been really cool. But there's been things that we've brought up. I think we may have mentioned some of these on the podcast, but like we can kind of get a little bit of a window into the other person's internal conversation and being
yes.
aware of like where, when you're having those sit downs and those check-ins, like, we sometimes very much challenge each other. And other times we're like, you're being too hard on yourself. Like
Mhm.
you're really like your self conversation seems like you're not really seeing things the way God's looking at you right now. And that's been kind of a really cool thing to be able to do.
I have appreciated that a lot because you have called that out in me sometimes, not in an unloving way, but in a loving way of, hey, I
For
actually,
what it's worth. Yeah.
yeah, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
I feel like the tone in because I journal like I'm talking to God. That's sort of
Hmm.
it's almost, I write my prayers kind of thing. And so to have somebody that can be like, hey, just so you know, I think you're being harder on yourself than God is actually like,
Mm.
understand that you are loved. There's grace and yeah, so that's been healthy and helpful. And it's one of those things that for me, I don't think about it because I don't know that we've had it any other way. We've just sort of had that open access. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the same thing, and I think this is a good accountability thing too, but we very much are like, there's no secrets with finances, with phones, like any of those things. Like we're very, like you can pick up my phone at any time, my passcode, you can go through any of the apps, any of like whatever. I do that so I can snoop and know what to buy you for Christmas as well, which is why I can be a really good gift giver because I'll see the things that you've been searching for online or whatever. But
I actually didn't know you did that. And there's one time you ordered things for me that were so like, how would you know that? And that's when it came up where you're like, because I just looked at your search and you had like searched. And I was like, that is genius.
we don't tend to be like, hey, every night we're going to check in on each other's phone. Like that's not how these things work. But there are times that I just think it's a good and healthy, we both work and so we travel, we have different, we have different things in our lives. And so just, it's one little thing that can just keep us accountable.
Yeah.
So we have nothing to hide in that space. So yeah, mission is a big one for us. I mean, our statement is on mission together, and we could probably do a whole episode about serving. We did one about that. But I think for this purpose in the investment, I'd say we love to serve together,
Yes.
and we've been able to do more of that. Anything you want to say about serving together?
I just think it's so special. And I know not everyone has the opportunity to do that at the level that we get to. So I don't want to take it for granted. But
No.
getting to lead worship together, host events together, things like just all of it's gotten to the point where I love doing things with you so much that I have to do things solo, it's like there's a side of me that's just kind of like, oh, mm.
Well,
It's
that's what everybody else says when you're not there. To me, is your wife gonna? Oh, it's
oh,
just you. Oh,
that's not
she's got amazing hair.
so. Oh my goodness, stop. Yeah, I get the same thing when I go places. So I think I like that when we get to do things together, it's enjoyable. Like it's
Yeah.
fun to be
Yep. And
to
this has
be up
been one of
there.
those things too that we
Yeah,
just, yeah,
podcast and all the
fun.
things. I love it.
And then I would say that we also find ways to try to support one another in our own spaces. And obviously that's vocationally, but it also is in things where it's like helping each other. Sometimes for you, it's like, hey, I need to make these slides or I need this content. Or sometimes for me, like, it's just like, hey, I have these ideas. Can you look this over? Can you, like, what am I missing? I'm all head. Give me some heart on this. Yeah.
Yeah, being a sounding board for one another, using the gifts that we have that are maybe unique to each one of us. And like you are more of the tech minded, like those things
Yep.
are a gift to you. They're not a strong point for me. So you've helped me in a lot of those arenas. And then yeah, I'm very relational. And so sometimes we'll process through that with things that you're facing. And it's special. It's something, even like as simple as there's been times when I've had to, I think recently, get up, go lead worship early, and you've gotten up and made me a nice breakfast and like sent me out the door and stuff like that.
I know a lot of the uniqueness of what we do, and I just want to acknowledge that we do, a disproportionate amount of platform kind of thing. But it is cool for me. I will say, like, I have no shame about that. I just know that it's not everybody's experience. I think there's been a couple times lately too where one of us was speaking and the other one got to just be there and be supportive and be helpful. And sometimes it's as little a thing as like, hey, you're speaking today, I'll do the driving.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that we try to do to help each other, support each other in serving. And then if you go back at other seasons of our lives, you might have been scheduled for a worship team thing. And it was just like, okay, I don't believe in that whole like dads or babysitters, but it was like, hey, no problem. I'm going to hold down the fort. I got this once a month or whatever. I can support you in that. So
Absolutely. And now we're in the season where there's some fun things that come.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a couple weeks ago, I was leading worship and you had that Sunday off. Well, rehearsal night, you drove out and met me in the town where I had rehearsal so that we could have dinner together. We sat at a restaurant, had dinner before I had to go to practice, and then you went home after. But as silly as that seems, you making that drive, it was like I got to see you that night before I had to go into kind of a longer evening. So just the intentionality and looking for ways to support one another and while each other is serving is a gift. So yeah.
Community, authenticity, mission, and the last one is
Play.
save the fun one for last.
Yeah.
So
we had to keep this one appropriate. But right at the top of the list, we have made some bedroom upgrades.
Yes.
This has been our investment in our marriage. And this is not weird, going to go X-rated, whatever. But I do think that we wanted to speak to simple things from even just keeping our bedroom a very peaceful, like it's very simple. We don't have a ton of extra stuff in there. You built that beautiful fireplace at the end of the bed as a Christmas gift, which really
it's not right next to the bed. There's a sufficient space, and it's an electric fire. I just want people to be able to
the
like,
bed
fire
is going to
hazard.
start on fire.
This bed's on fire.
So there's so many jokes. I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. But things like that have been investments in that space to make it a real sanctuary for the two of us, a space for us. You have like Alexa all queued up with different things where if we go, it's time to go to bed and you go upstairs, it's like the lights go to like a relaxing dim setting. And even when we go to bed, when you tell her good night, she turns on the white noise machine.
Well, this is a funny one because this is the nerd out, but I have like these Alexa things where it's like you can build these stacks of like, if you say this, then the device will play this noise and the hue lighting system will dim the lights. So it is all programmed, but I'm too cheap to pay for we use like a sleep set. It's like a brown noise, like a white noise kind of thing. And I don't know what it is, but because it's like the freemium version of it,
I forgot.
So yeah, so like most nights you just say like Alexa, good night, and the lights turn off, and then the white noise just starts. Like it's awesome.
But then other nights.
But then like once or twice a month, it's like, oh, well, because you're using this for free, we're gonna throw an ad at the front of this, and it's like at the volume of like an 11. So you're like, you finish reading a book or you finish watching a show, and you're just like, okay, I get to just say Alexa, good night, and
we're dozing off.
We're just gonna fade into the horizon and dream of, I don't know, great things.
Yes.
I would say large women, but it's a Princess Bride.
I know.
But it's like very not appropriate for our marriage. Strong wife, power lifter woman. So anyway, off script.
You are going to get brutalized for this one episode.
Get a lot of editing.
Yeah.
But then it'll be like, would you like to purchase the, it's like,
if you would like to purchase the extended, and then she just goes into this whole
like, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop.
And it goes into you. Alexa, shut up. Yeah, and then it's no longer peaceful. And then, but we usually are both laughing afterwards because it is just obnoxious.
Well, and then a number of years ago when we bought our house, we'd sold a house, moved here. We might have talked about this before, but we invested a lot into a really nice bed.
Yes.
It's a split top, so it can like move up and down, and it's
I already made
sleeping
all
over.
my inappropriate
Yeah,
jokes the
I
first
forgot
time
about
we
that.
talked
So
about that.
yeah, that's right. It's working great. Uh,
No, but yeah, all of those kinds of things. Obviously, people are wired differently. We are very like minimalist is calming for us.
mhm.
I've had people literally comment when they've gone to our house. They're like, "You don't really have like a lot of furniture in your bedroom," and I was like, "Yep." Like, on purpose. We don't have a lot of stuff hung on the walls. Like it's just very simple. But for us, that is
Mm,
relaxing and creates a space. So yeah.
it's good. And the last one, as we kind of wrap this up here, this has been something we started at around our 10-year anniversary. And even before that, I think we would at least practice the general principle of it. We've just always said we're going to find ways and times to get away, just the two of us.
Yeah. This was from when our kids were little, and we really had to work at that, getting childcare and everything else. But yeah, traveling just the two of us is something that we have worked for and something that we genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, I like just being the two of us.
And again, depending on season and finances, sometimes it was like a borrowed house on the Cape in the middle of the winter,
Yeah.
like for a night. And then other times it was like just short getaways. But we have discovered, like for us, that getting somewhere warm in the winter
Yes.
is great. And then like our default, we really do enjoy cruising, which is like, we're the young people and the old people cruise. So
I
we like
think,
to cruise. We shall say we don't go on the party boats. We tend to go on the ones that are actually no water slides, like really like chill.
oh, yeah, we are like legitimately old people when we cruise,
Yeah.
but that's my favorite part of it. And I think finding for each couple, like, what is the thing that is relaxing for both of you? Because that's a big one. And that can sometimes be challenging. If you think about
Yes.
traveling together.
One person likes X, so otherwise Y.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
if somebody
Very
is
hard.
like, I cannot just sit on a beach with a book. And truthfully, this is part of why I have enjoyed cruising for us is that it allows us to be in a space where we can set different rhythms too. Like if one of us is like, I just really need to go to the gym, and the other one's like, I just want to take a nap, you're you're on a boat. Like you can do those things and you're still all
It's a
together.
ship. It's not a boat.
Sorry, the ship. Yeah, discovering what does it look like for the two of you that it can have things that both of you enjoy, being willing to try things that are outside your comfort
Mhm.
zone, like you jumping off cliffs in Jamaica with me was not your,
Yeah.
first choice, but it's a story we'll forever have.
So a couple things I just want to say about like why cruising was really well. One thing that's really interesting. I don't know if you observed this too, but we talk about the old people there. It's you end up just having striking up little conversations in the hallway. You're waiting for something, or you're waiting for a show to start, and somebody sits next to you. The number of people that I meet, it's not everybody, but the number of people that I meet on cruises that are like in their 70s or their 60s, and they're like, one, they've been on a stupid number of cruises, but they've been married for 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is interesting. Like there's something here. There's something in the
The
water.
secret to marriage, cruising.
Yeah, no, but it's an interesting thing that
Yeah.
like I do highly disproportionate to any other space that I would ever be in, the number of people. So that's just interesting. And then the second thing for me, because I spend a lot of my life planning events, travel, etc. I like planning the cruise, but once we are on the boat, we unpack. I don't have to look at another price tag again. I don't have to plan parking.
Yep.
I don't have to have a rental car. I don't have to find directions to anything. You don't have to pack again. Like you legitimately can just completely be where you are. And you said, I think on our first cruise, you're like, this is the first time I've really seen you chill.
Yeah, that definitely was for you the most relaxed is in those kind of environments.
And we go off grid. Like there's a lot more access to like Wi-Fi. And we're like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Lock the phone up.
Which is interesting because we have friends that I've talked to. And again, this is know your wiring,
Yes.
where they have tried to do the cruise thing and they were like, we were going insane.
Yep.
Like we felt trapped. We felt like we were bored. The bored one cracks me up because I'm like, oh, being bored is like my dream come true.
Please let me be bored.
Let me be bored in the sunshine with
just
a
sit in a
book.
chair, look at the ocean from my balcony,
Yeah, like that
sipping
is.
a cup of coffee. This is.
But if that's not fun for you, then yeah, there's also people who cruising is a nightmare. So that's part of it. We're obviously sharing things that we've
Yeah, but
we've chosen.
But it's an investment. We've worked on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also to encourage other couples to take the time to process through these things. One, what are the things you're already doing? Two, if you go down through, like, think through community, authenticity, mission, play, are there things that you need to be more intentional with, where you're like, okay, I can't think of a whole lot in this arena, and we probably need to think that through and start investing in that.
Well, one last principle, and then we'll say goodbye, is like on this, and we were just talking about this, and we booked our summer vacation today.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
You get to bring your dog on vacation.
That is what I'm most excited. Yes.
I like having something on the calendar. Even if it's we booked a vacation that's going to be in June, and right now we're recording this in February. It's coming out in March. We may sneak in another little getaway before that, but like that's right now the next one. But before that, like I was telling you, I'm like I'm kind of like I just need something on the calendar. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be expensive, but just that. And that's been a principle that's really helped us out a lot. So
yeah, have something to look forward to.
So anything else embarrassing you want me to share about you today?
Do you need me to share something embarrassing to balance the scales a little?
Ooh.
I don't know if I can just come up with something on the fly.
I'll think about it for next time. The worst part is
you teed me up.
I teed you up so bad.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Actually, so good. That was.
Yeah. Well, you can disagree on that.
That was
We'll
a
see if it makes
beautiful
the final cut. There may be a director's cut, and then this is a good time to launch Patreon. No, just kidding. We're not doing that yet. So thank you guys so much for listening, watching, subscribing, all the things, sending us questions.
We're having fun. We hope you are too. So if you're not, I'm sorry. I'll get Andy to share more stories. So I find that the most entertaining.
Well, I'm glad someone does.
Yay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.